Welcome to today's webinar. Our webinar is focusing on building a SharePoint intranet and how Valto can get you live in as little as 30 days. My name's Steve Glasspool. I'm the head of consultancy here at Valto, and I accidentally fell into SharePoint approximately 13 years ago. I've been building intranets and SharePoint solutions over that time for organizations, both large and small. So a little bit about Valto. We actually split into 5 differing pillars. The one we're focusing on today is the modern workplace because this encapsulates SharePoint intranets. But we also do have our managed services, Microsoft 365 and Azure, business applications, and data and AI pillar. So let's take a look at today's agenda. Firstly, we're going to be looking at why intranets are important. We're looking at some of the common pain points of people that are using SharePoint but don't necessarily have an intranet put into place, and the ways and means of actually building out an intelligent intranet. We'll also jump into some live demonstrations, so we'll show you our Holler intranet and see some intranets in action, as well as some of our add-ons such as controlled documents and knowledge base, etc. We'll talk through a small success story and case study of where we put an intranet into place, one of many. We'll also then look and deep dive into our own offering and how we can get you up and running within 30 days. And finally, just look at next steps in terms of how you can contact us if you'd like to know more or like to start your digital transformation and intranet journey with us. Let's look at the question as to why intranets are still important today. So one of the main reasons is that work environments are very noisy. Now, I don't mean the literal noise of loud conversations in the office, but I'm talking about noise which is caused by haphazard file shares and servers, lots of systems, lots of time lost in the business, etc. So as an example, you may find that your employees are all spending hours and hours searching for documents. They may find documents that are the wrong version and actually work against that document and find that they're wasting time, wasting even more time. You might also find that people generate documents because they can't find what they're looking for, thus duplicating workload of what someone else has already done. Employees also have access to lots of different systems. All of these systems may have different ways of accessing them. Some may be behind a VPN, some may be cloud-based, there might be different passwords, different accounts, etc. And if they're not in a central location, again, it might take time to find those systems and access those systems, and also access the knowledge and guidance behind them. Email overload is another big piece that we see within businesses, where every correspondence, every communication is fired through email. So this might be things such as internal announcements, this might be newsletters, this might be that there's cake in the kitchen, very simple messages all going through email, which is also actually used to collate lots and lots of information from clients and business critical emails that might get lost amongst that noise. Finally, we find organizations have a reliance on paper, so a lot of outdated processes. This might well be that people fill in paper-based forms, they might pass it to someone else who then needs to input that data into Excel or onto a system, and that double entry also causes more time. And obviously in business, time equals money, so it's very important to get a much more efficient process in place, and that's where an intranet can support. So we can distill some of these ideas into some key pain points. One main pain point is actually through your people. So now with hybrid and remote working, we see more and more that there's a lot of people that are disconnected from the workplace. Even in the times before hybrid and remote working, people still worked in siloed ways. So HR would work in their way and finance would work in their way, and they may not talk to each other enough. So the culture and the engagement within the organization doesn't reach the heights that it should do to have a happy, healthy workforce. We talked earlier a little bit about reliance on email, so that comes under kind of mixed messaging. So there might be a reliance to use email for all messaging, or it may well be that there are other tools being used, such as Teams, but there's no actual key rules as to why I would use Teams versus using email versus adding some news to a SharePoint intranet. So people don't actually know where to look to find the communications and correspondence they're looking for. You might also find that shadow IT creeps into the workplace, and I've seen many organizations that use WhatsApp groups or Facebook groups and Messenger to actually communicate work-based information. The main reason is they don't actually have a tool in the workplace to do that, so they go exploring and looking for a different solution, one that's actually outside of IT's control, which can therefore cause more problems down the line. We talked a little bit about being able to find documents, and that's where we refer to it as kind of scattered knowledge across the business. So again, we might have lots of deep file shares, lots of different server and file storage locations, lots of maybe paper-based documents. So all of that knowledge being in different areas means it's really difficult for someone to find what they're looking for. It may also be that some of the knowledge are in people's heads and it's not actually gone down into a medium such as paper, knowledge base, videos, etc. So users might end up duplicating work or working in a slightly different way because they can't locate the knowledge that they need. And finally, for any documents that you do have in place, there may be zero control. So have we got control over who can see those documents? Is there anything that could accidentally be released to people internally that shouldn't see it? Or they could actually share externally, which might cause even more problems. Or what about if there's outdated versions? Again, we talked earlier, someone might work against an outdated version, spend their time following a process, and because that process is out of date, a day's worth of work may be lost. Or even worse, that work may go out to a client, and that would cause impact to reputation of the organization. So what do we do to actually fix that? So in terms of Microsoft, and when we look at Microsoft Learn, the intelligent intranet pages, they talk about harnessing the power of the intelligent intranet. They talk about communicating effectively across the organization, engaging employees, connecting with relevant information and knowledge. So bringing that all together into that central location, which in fact is your intranet. So we can actually turn those pain points and spin them around into actually pillars of a successful intranet. So we've got 4 pillars here, 4 C's, which are connection, communication, collaboration, and control. So when we talk about connection, this is all about bringing people and teams together, having a central environment for all your users to access and making them feel part of your organization. Branding is also a really big piece of this because, again, for a remote worker who maybe isn't in your office and doesn't see your colored walls and your slogans and values pasted on the walls, they can still see that through accessing the internet and still feel part of that bigger organization, even if they're just sat alone at home. You also then have a key communication platform. So again, that communication is centralized into one location. It has consistent and clear messaging, and it uses the tone and the voice of your organization so people know what to expect and what to find there. News and announcements can be mixed. So you've got the concept of what's called top-down and bottom-up when it comes to news and announcements. And when we talk about top-down news, this is the organization giving you information as an employee. This may well be something the CEO has just done, or a new deal that was just signed off, or a new starter in the business. But also you've got the opportunity, should you allow it in the organization, which I was always an advocate for, is allowing your end users to actually share news and knowledge with the rest of the team and the rest of other departments and other teams. So this could be people that have just maybe won an award, or someone who's done a really good piece of work and needs some praise and a shout out, or potentially it's someone's birthday, or someone's just got married or given birth. So all of these good news stories that you wouldn't know unless you're maybe sat in the team with those people, they can all feed up into this communication platform as well. And again, it's another way of then connecting people through this communication. We then have collaboration. So all the various tools and systems we need to use are accessible from one individual location. Again, everything is being centralized. All of the knowledge and the guidance behind that documentation is stored in that central location. So users have what they need to actually do their job and do their job well. This helps people that have been in the organization for many, many years, but it also helps from an onboarding perspective when we bring new people in, all the documentation, all the information about their benefits, all the information about the systems, all of the controls and the values that are in place for the organization are all shared in that internal area. So again, they can collaborate with the people they're connected to, and they communicate with those people to aid that collaboration. And finally, everything is fully controlled. So we have governance, we have security in place. We ensure there's a single source of truth, a single version. If that version is updated, it's approved, and then that version will be announced to everybody else in the organization, so no one risks working from an older version. If there's content that I'm allowed to see and my team isn't allowed to see, then that content is secured. There's no risk of someone finding out the wrong information. And if there's content I'm allowed to see but I'm not allowed to share externally, that's also controlled with things such as sensitivity labels to avoid that document going out and getting into the wrong hands. My pricing list doesn't get shared with a competitor, for example. So again, we then put those controls in place to make sure that the employees and the users can communicate, can connect, and can collaborate without risking causing any issues within the business because the controls have been set by IT, by management. So the Microsoft vision is to deliver all of this with various different tools within the Microsoft 365 platform. And the key tools we'll be looking at is SharePoint, Viva Engage, Microsoft Teams, and Copilot. And this is a way of building out an intelligent intranet. So we have SharePoint in place where we can store all of our documents. We can build out our sites, build our pages, our intranets. We can extend that further with Viva Engage, so we can allow people to have communities and actually have open discussions, be it around departments, around social activities, around kind of knowledge activities. We also have Teams. So Teams is that space where people can actually collaborate with one another. We can also use Viva Engage to embed our SharePoint intranet into Teams so that we have a singular platform for people to work from. And then that intelligence piece, it becomes even more intelligent through the use of Copilot. And this is where we introduce AI into the mix to allow AI to actually look at the documents, look at the correct versions, look at the content that your users are pushing out to the rest of the organization, and provide agents such as retrieval agents and chatbots to let people kind of ask questions of their data. So to avoid them actually exploring the intranet too much, but just asking questions, how much holiday do I have? How do I book a holiday? What's the onboarding process, etc. So if we configure the 365 technology stack in the right way, we can create that intelligent intranet and we can ensure that we connect our people, connect our knowledge, tools and processes all together. And that's the reason why an intranet is still so important today as it was many years ago. Now it's time to jump into a live demonstration. What we're going to see is some intranet examples of pages and content. And we're also going to look at some of our add-ons such as controlled documents and knowledge base. The Hollett intranet has several differing page designs that we can share with you during our consultancy sessions. The idea is to allow you to pick a design that fits your organization, which can be branded to match your brand guidelines. So let's take a look at some of these designs now. The first page we're looking at here has a big welcome banner in place, and we've got a call to action, in this case, to gather feedback straight away on the intranet. We also have several differing tiles that can link out to key systems that are used within the organization. This may well be to book a holiday. As we move down the page, we can look at information about what's happening within the organization. First, we've got our news and announcements that can come across from the various different departments, as well as from the administrators and the internal communication team themselves, as well as various different upcoming events that you can go and add to your diary. If we take the page down further, we've got some additional resources in place here as well. So we've got some more smaller links that can link out to things that may not be as prominent as the links we've got at the top of the page, as well as some various different frequently accessed sites and our main learning hub. Finally, we end with a footer that gives us some information about our addresses, phone numbers, etc. So this is one such design that we've got into place. But again, SharePoint gives us the ability to add multiple different designs. If we look at an additional design here, we can see a slightly different layout. So in this case, we're using a number of different editorial cards. And again, we've still got links into place to be able to log expenses, book a holiday, etc. As we move down the page, we've got some smaller sublinks that might not be, again, as prominent as the links above. We've got access to our Viva Engage communities and chats and posts that are happening, so we can engage within Viva right in the SharePoint intranet, as well as a different display and layout of news that we've got into place here as well. Again, finalizing with our footer. Let's look at one more design. So now we've got a larger full width section at the top of the page, again with some of our key vision and mission statements, as well as some links, once again, to different solutions. In this case, we've got a further editorial card, and this is in a carousel setup, as well as some call to actions to various key areas of the intranet, and specific administrators and contacts who we may want to reach out to if we've got any feedback. We have news and announcements once again in, again, another layout, another style, and finalizing with our footer. When we work with differing organizations, we sometimes build sites to fit a specific industry area. So we've got some examples here. So we can look at one for the financial industry. We've got a lovely big banner and carousel at the top for announcements. In this scenario, we've actually got a right-hand vertical section where we've got lots of different information in here. So we're actually utilizing this for information about benefits, relevant items of news, in this case just related to the CEO updates, time, and links that are easily accessible from the right-hand side. This is a very news-heavy environment, so we've got news that are coming in from the different regions, as well as further calls to actions to differing areas that I might be interested in as an end user. So how do I grow my career? What benefits do I get as part of this organization? Finally, we have some topics into place. So this is where our knowledge topics can be stored, really good for someone who's being onboarded onto the organization, but also someone that's been there for a while may wish to click on one of these links to find out more or something they may have forgotten about. And finally, a call to action at the base for anyone that requires any further support, and that could be linked in with your support systems. We've then got one for the manufacturing industry. Again, a full width banner at the top here, but a set of core links that are available. Again, very prominent for you to get jumped to very quickly and easily. As we move down the page, we've once again got updates and announcements in carousels as well as news items. Further calls to action in terms of my benefits, training, policies, etc. All content that people need at their fingertips when working through an intranet. Some final, less important links at the base of the page, as well as the upcoming events in a carousel style. And then finally for legal, we can see a more simplified version of an intranet, where at the top page we've got, at the top section of the page, we have documentation in place, so quick and easy documents to access, as well as quick links into the work that the team need to do instantly. But as we move the page down, again, we once again come into further links, knowledge areas, news, etc. And once again, we can see events, FAQs, and further calls to action. So you can see the way that the page can be configured in various different ways to fit your needs. Not only do we build out the home page, we'll also look at departmental pages. So if we bring up an example page, in this case compliance, we can see that we've got a page in place here which is related just to the department. So we can build this out as a template page, and then we can ensure each of your departments has the same style of page to work from. So in this scenario, we've got information about the department, various links that they want to make available to end users that are exploring this department. So it could well be a HR site gives you a link to their policies and procedures and their staff handbook. We can see information about the team, documents that the department wish to share with other users, events, calls to action, and news. And a lot of this events and news can then roll back up to our main homepage. So utilizing these designs, we can work with you to understand which designs you like the best. There might well be sections of design A and sections of design B that you like, and we can mold them together to produce a design that fits your need moving forward. We'll now take a look at our People Directory add-on. The Holler Intranet Phone Directory provides you a central location to find out more about the staff that work within your organization. At the top, we can see the ability to filter by last name. And if I click on B, it's going to show us everyone with last name starts with B. I could also use this search box to search for a specific individual. So if I know their name, I can search for blogs, and I can find the contact details about Joe Blogs. Or I can search for people who are heads of departments, and we can see that searched head in each of these items. So we've got Jenny Wright, head of consultancy, and Paul Smith, head of operations, etc. We may also want to search on a specific department. So if I search for IT, we can see that we've got Ted Jones, Joe Blogs, and a test user in this instance that work within IT. We can also utilize the refiners on the left-hand side of the screen. So if we're not too sure what we're searching for, we may be able to refine our results. So once again, I could actually go and select IT. And as I select IT, I can see Joe Blogs, Ted Jones, and our test user appears once again. And then I could filter that even further with a job title of Intranet Specialist that will get us to Joe Blogs. As I hover over this item, I can start to see information about this user, and I can reach out to them, contacting via email or phone, etc. So a really quick and useful tool to avoid having to utilize Excel sheets for storing staff details and staff contact information. Next, let's look at how Viva Engage communities can be tied in with your intranet platform. The whole intranet can also be extended with the use of Viva Engage. On this site, we can see that we've got the Viva Engage web part embedded on the page, so we can see updates and chats that are hosted in the community that we've got linked. Within here, I can post to Viva Engage or like or comment on existing posts. But to do much more, I can hit View More and go into the Viva Engage suite itself. Viva Engage is made up of a number of different communities. Each community can have its own set of owners and own set of members, and it can also be discoverable or invite only. A community is essentially a way of bringing a group of individuals together, and these may be people that are cross departments. For example, a social club to talk about social activities. Within this community, I can do a number of things, much like I could in LinkedIn or Facebook. So I can share a new thought or an idea, great new intranet, and I can post that into place, and that's going to appear in my feed. I can also like or love or celebrate comments, or add some further comments to reply. So it's a great way of interacting with users and getting people to chat and discuss certain areas. I can also post a question. How do I brand the intranet? And I can add some further details into place here, and I can ask a question. So this will just highlight it as a question so that people can come back in and comment and answer in place here. Use the admin center as an example. And if I wish to, I can actually verify the answer, or I can mark this as a best answer so that other people could find this question and actually see what answers, much like a forum would take place. I could also send praise. So I could say that Toby Weaver, and I want to praise them for great work on the award last night. And once again, I can shout about that, and we can highlight that that's praise. And again, people can celebrate that and can comment on that as they wish. So we can say well done. And we also have the ability to create polls. What is the best tool for an intranet? So we can raise this and we can pop some answers into place. So we can say SharePoint, WordPress, or Google, and we can ask that question. And once again, this will still allow people to like and comment, but it will also allow people to vote. So we can vote on SharePoint and we can start to see the results that are taking place. So lots of ways for people to interact and talk with one another in an interface that people are very much used to nowadays using Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. You can also go and view information of individual users. So you can start to see experts and you can start to see their storyline and information about what they've posted. So if I go into my own profile here in the sense of Joe Blogs, we can start to see thoughts and ideas that I've shared within here, and people will be able to follow my activity, view my posts, etc. So I might be a thought leader within the business. And I can also set up kind of ask me anything events, etc. So again, you may have your CEO, heads of departments, thought leaders, set these up on regular occasions to bring people together within the community. So again, a really useful tool to utilize that will help you configure and can be exposed directly into your intranet site. Maybe you've got your wellbeing page with your wellbeing community, you've got your social or football club page with your social community. So it starts to bring those communities together into your intranet to really benefit and get users to feel adopted within the intranet and not feel isolated, especially in a hybrid or remote working environment. We can now look at our dynamic newsletter add-on. One of our Holler intranet add-ons is known as the dynamic newsletter. We work with a lot of organizations who will either print off newsletters or send an email newsletter around an organization. And that can cause issues still with email overload, cost of printing, and people just maybe not engaging as much with it. So the dynamic newsletter is made up of a number of different news elements. So as we scroll down the page, we can see that we've got various different news streams that are in place. Now, a lot of these news streams may be managed by the marketing team or the internal communications team, and they may be shared in this newsletter, but also shared within the homepage of the intranet, for example. But in this example, we've also got head office news, and we've got news coming from various different teams. So to keep this newsletter dynamic, we can allow each individual team to post their own news to their own site. As an example, we can see this news story here for new career pathways for human resources. And if I click on the human resources link, I'll actually get taken into their department page. As I view their department page, I can see information about the department and relevant links and information about their team. But right at the base of the page here, we can see some news stories in place, and we can see that same news story around new career pathways. So what that means is you can actually allow individuals across the business to start generating and creating their own news stories. So it doesn't have to just go through the internal communications team and the marketing team at all times. And again, that's what actually keeps this newsletter as being dynamic at all stages. As we scroll down the page, we also have the same with events. So we can bring events in from all across the various different department areas. So if finance or HR are hosting an event, they can post that to their site and it will get pulled into this page so that anyone that loads this up will always see the latest dynamic news and events that are happening within the business. Once again, because this is a SharePoint, we can adapt and change this page as we see fit. So we can change the designs, we can have news as carousels, we can embed videos, etc. So we can really make this fit the needs of your organization. A final couple of elements that we've got within our dynamic newsletter here is the ability to have a call to action to reach out and actually request a news story. So it may well be that there's a piece of news that you don't feel confident writing within your department, but you want to push across to the marketing team and the internal communications team to create the article on your behalf. And we also have the ability to feedback on the newsletter. So there might be certain bits of news that you're not seeing or certain bits of news that you want to be seeing in the future that you can then feedback to the marketing team so that those that are looking after the internet can make changes moving forward. So once again, a popular add-on that will be part of our packages. Let's look at how we can configure login and banner branding to support your intranet. As part of the whole intranet build, we can also ensure we brand a few other areas of SharePoint as well. Firstly is the banner branding at the very top here. So we can see that that has the same color as the rest of the site and also introduces our logo into place so we know where we are within our applications. But further to that, we can also look at branding the login experience. If I bring up this example page, you'll be able to see that we've got our own background image here of Chester, where Valto are based, and we've also got the Valto logo in place. So we can help you brand this login experience, which helps from a phishing attempt perspective, because your users will know when logging into the site exactly what that login experience should look like, and they'll be able to see their brand represented through imagery, as well as the logo into place here. As well as helping from a phishing attempt perspective, it also just helps people feel a part of the organization because your branding starts right from the moment you log in, and once you log in, the branding then can continue throughout the intranet as required. Next up is our controlled documents add-on, available to manage your policies and procedures within the organization. Polar Intranet Controlled Documents add-on can be deployed alongside your intranet. This add-on comes in the form of an independent site collection that can be linked to your intranet hub site so that the branding is shared. The landing page can be configured to suit your users' needs. Our example here has a number of different links that go across to differing views of documents, for example, ISO 27001 documents and ISO 9001 documents. We also have a set of administration links, which allows people to see documents that are awaiting action by certain administrators, ones that might be close to being reviewed or ones that are awaiting approval. And finally, we have a set of popular documents based on user access so that someone can come to this homepage and quickly get to the documents that are viewed most recently and most frequently. The main area within the system is within the documents library itself. If we load up the document library, within here we'll see all of our various different documents in place. Now, each of these documents have a set of metadata applied against them. Metadata is also known as document tagging, and we can see each of these tags within the relevant column. Some of these tags are put in place by default because they allow our automation to run. The documents in place all have version history. So if we open up our version history, we can see the life of this document. This document started life way back when, version 0.1. So version 0.1 refers to a minor version. This means that anyone who has read access to the library and doesn't have edit access will not know that this document exists because it's never been published or approved as a major version. Those with edit access will be able to see this document because they need to be able to review it or also to be able to work on it. Once this document is sent for approval, which is an automated process within this system, it will be marked as version 1.0 if approved. And that then means it's its first major version. Now this document is readable to everyone that has read access within this library. Now over time, that document may change a few times and editors may update it. At that point, it will move into another minor version of 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, etc. At version 1.3, the editors will be able to edit that document and view that document, but anyone with read access will only be able to see version 1.0. Once it's reapproved and becomes 2.0, now all of the readers will be able to see the latest version. So this ensures that there's a single source of truth at all times without the need to duplicate documents for the need of different versions. It all remains under its one document title. Metadata against documents can be updated within the properties window. So we can update that and we can change things such as the reviewer, approver, department, etc. as required. Some of the various columns here will be configured as part of our deployment when we work with you. For example, we've got a department column here, but you may have a column that refers to product, refers to region, refers to office location, etc. This metadata then allows you to sort and filter on that data. So we'll configure the tags that will fit your users to help them find their documents most easily. So I've just sorted that from Z to A, but I could also, if I wish to, filter it by IT, and I could apply that filter into place to show me only IT documents. And I could add additional filters as necessary. You can also create views of documents, which each will have their own link, and this allows people to easily access sets of documents as required. For example, if I go to the views and select all IT documents, that view will immediately show me all documents already pre-filtered and tagged by IT to save me performing the filter. This then means on my IT department site, I may link to this view so that someone that goes to my IT department may click on the View Policies button and get taken into the same controlled documents library, but already have it pre-filtered by IT because their user journey passed through the IT page. Approval for documents can be achieved by selecting the document and then running an automation to send it for approval. This will then look to the approver and it will send an email to that approver so that they can review the document and choose to approve or reject it. If rejected, it will remain at its current minor version, but if approved, it will up issue to the next major version. At that point in time, the approval date will be defined, as will the review date, as the review date is the approval date plus the set review period. The review date can then notify the reviewer to alert them of when a document is due for review. So that can alert them at 90 days before review, 60 days, and 30 days before the review. During this approval process, you also have the ability to define whether a tracker is required and who the tracker group will be if the tracker is switched on. What we mean by trackers is that we allow there to be read receipts. If we look at our tracked groups, we'll be able to see within this screen various different groups that we've set up, which are linked to security and Microsoft 365 groups that will work with your IT team to set up. For example, we may have a group called All London Staff. What that means is for any document that has a tracker required is equaling yes, and has All London Staff as the tracker group, they will get an email of this document and be requested to approve that they've read the document when a document is published. So our complaints policy might be published from version 2.2 to version 3, and therefore all London staff that are impacted will get an email to let them know that document's been updated, and they'll be requested within that email to select that they've read the document so that there's evidence. This is all stored within a document tracker, and we can look at this grouped by policy to allow us to be able to see each policy, each version, and the user's experience as to whether they've read the document or not read the document. This will also set a defined expiry date, so we can also see if documents are overdue and of course chase up on that user. So once again, our control document system is in place to control templates, policies, procedures, etc. Make sure we've got a single source of truth at all times. Ensure that we've got a good automated process to review and approve that document and up-issue the versions, to avoid anyone working from the wrong document or reading the wrong version, and to avoid lots of duplicate information across the site. We now want to explore our knowledge base add-on. The knowledge base is a centralized location to store knowledge which is held across your organization. This could be in the form of videos, pages, and/or documents. Within this site, we can add numerous template pages. We've got two examples here. One is for our subject page, which is a high-level subject area to store documents and high-level information. The other is an article page that stores more granular information that expands upon the subject that it sits within. Within our landing page, we can see a call to action to our various different subject pages. These can be configured per organization because differing subjects will relate to that organization's work. If we visit one subject page here, for example, our workshops, we can see that we've got our subject template page, which has information about this particular subject from a high level. This page could also include embedded videos and further imagery. This page also includes who to contact, for which we can hover over the user and we can reach out to that user via phone or email if we want to know more. So these are essentially our subject matter experts. We also have a set of embedded documents. If we view the document library, we'll see that documents are actually stored in a folder, one folder per subject area. This means that we can embed that library on the page and show any documents which are stored in the relevant folder, therefore not having to edit the page every time you upload new documents. This may also connect to the control document system if you have both the knowledge base and the control document system in the same intranet deployment. Finally, we can see some various site pages which are related to the subject that I'm viewing. In this scenario, I'm viewing the workshops page. Therefore, I've been introduced with other article pages relating to workshops, such as shadowing a workshop, scheduling a workshop, creating a workshop agenda, and delivering a workshop whilst on site. If we click into one of these items, such as scheduling a workshop, we'll get taken into our article page. This is a more granularly detailed page, which once again can contain a lot more imagery and videos if necessary. We can view the content of this page. We can link out to other resources that may relate to this page. So these could be systems that allow us to do the work that is defined. And once again, we can see subject matter experts related to this particular article that I can reach out to for more help. From within this page, we can again see further related articles. So if I wish to, I could go back to the Our Workshops page, which was the subject area where I started, or I could go and read some more content, in this case, agendas. So I've scheduled the workshop and I now need to understand how to create an agenda. Once I've created the agenda, I now need to understand how to deliver that workshop on site. So this knowledge base is a little bit like a Wikipedia style, where I can look at a subject and I can deep dive into that subject into further related articles. And then once again, I can navigate back up to my workshop subject if I need to. If we go back to the home page, we can also see that we've got a call to action, and this call to action is taking us to a frequently asked questions section. If I go to the FAQs area, we've loaded up an FAQ page. This is in the style of a page FAQ. Within this FAQ, I can scroll down and I can see a number of different questions and answers, which I can expand and contract as necessary. But we also have a set of links at the top that can navigate me quickly to the question I need to answer. For example, if I want to know where our templates are stored, I can click this link, I can read the question and the answer, and I can navigate back to the top again if necessary. We do also have some different styles of FAQs if required. So we can go into a list-based FAQ. And this then allows us to show information within a SharePoint list, again, which we can expand or contract as necessary. Of which this is just a standard SharePoint list in the background. So we can simply add new items with questions and answers as we would any SharePoint list item, and know that it will immediately appear within our FAQ view, which is a lot easier for users to read through. Finally, on our homepage, on the right-hand side, we'll be able to see our recent articles and knowledge pages. So as new pages are created, they'll be added to this right-hand panel, meaning every time a user accesses the knowledge base, they'll be able to see any new articles that might be created since they last viewed the page, so that they can catch up with further knowledge in the business. For our intelligent intranet, we provide an AI chatbot. Let's explore how that works. If selecting the intelligent intranet when selecting your Holler intranet package, we can deploy an AI chatbot to allow your users to get the information they need quickly and easily. As an example, we have a chatbot designed to look at our control document system. If we open up our control document system, we'll be able to see within the documents library that there are several approved versions of documents. We can use these documents as a knowledge source for our chatbot so that an AI agent can be produced to give people the answers they need. If we go into our Microsoft 365 Copilot chat and we access our controlled documents agent, we can start to ask some questions about those documents. As we can see in our library, we have a complaints policy, an expenses policy, and a loan working policy. So we can ask some questions about those. To start with, I can ask it to give me a short summary of the complaints policy. I can let my agent think for a while, and it's going to go and explore that controlled documents library and give me the information I need. So here's my summary of the complaints policy. I can also ask it, how do I raise expenses? Once again, it will think for a moment and it'll go and grab me an answer specifically from that controlled documents, because that's been what's been used as the knowledge for this particular agent. And finally, I may say, what do I do if I am working alone? So it's going to read this question, it's going to identify that I'm referring to the loan working policy, and it's going to bring back some information pulled from that document. So we can see general guidance information that it's providing me. So we can support you in building out and configuring the various add-ons, such as the knowledge base and the controlled documents environment. And then we can utilize that as a knowledge source so that we can produce an agent that ties in with various knowledge within your intranet so that users can get their answers quickly and easily, as opposed to having to spend hours searching through various documents. We can utilize our employee onboarding add-on to help with new starters within the business. Let's take a look at that now. The Holler Intranet can also provide an employee onboarding experience as part of the add-ons. The employee onboarding experience is split into two areas, pre-onboarding and onboarding. Firstly, we'll look at the pre-onboarding area. Pre-onboarding is a self-contained SharePoint site collection that can give information to a user before they actually become part of your organization. As an example, a user may accept an offer from your organization but need to work a 3-month notice period. At that point in time, we can share this site collection with their own personal email account. Because this site is self-contained, it enables us to share limited information with those users that we're happy to be out in the public domain. This then allows users to prepare for their first day, understand the team, and understand the processes before they actually join, keeping them engaged and excited for their actual first day. We then can extend this journey further within our employee onboarding portal. The employee onboarding portal is an extension of the pre-onboarding portal, but in this scenario, users who access this site will actually have an internal organizational account. This means they can be provided even more information, which you're happy for them to see because they're now under contract. Once again, we can see information about the organization, we can see information about the team, and we can see further links to areas such as benefits, career pathways, learning, development, etc. So another self-contained site collection, again containing knowledge, which users require as part of their onboarding journey. But it doesn't just stop there. What we also have is some systems in place to aid a user when they join the organization. If we go into Start Your Journey here, we'll be able to see a set of tasks that have been provisioned for that user. As an example, I've got some tasks such as uploading my passport picture, meeting the team, and completing my email signature. These tasks are all described and all allow me to mark them as complete once they're done. Each of these tasks also have a deadline date so that during my maybe 1 month to 2 month probation period, I can be completing all the relevant onboarding activities in the relevant timeframes that are required. And my manager will be able to see these items and know which ones I've completed and which ones are still outstanding. All of these tasks are configured within an easy-to-use task config list in the background, accessible to the administrators, in which we can provide all the relevant tasks that need to take place. Within this list, we can add the task and add its description. We can also add the number of days to complete the task. This is going to be what dictates the deadline date because people will start in the organization at different points in time. So in this scenario, if someone was to start on the 1st of January 2026, we would say that by the 2nd of January 2026, they would need to have completed this task. We also have a mentor that's in place, and this is the person that looks after that task and knows about that task. So it may well be that if you need to do something in terms of collecting your laptop, you would have an IT user. And if you had to do something in regards to your email signature, you would contact a marketing user. And each of these users are listed so that you can go and contact them via phone or email address, etc. If we hover over the mentor, we can see their profile appear. We also have the option to set up the tasks in terms of when and where they'll be shown. Firstly, we have our department. So we may have tasks that are relevant to the entire organization, but we might have tasks that are unique to someone joining the HR department versus someone joining the finance department. We also have tasks related to employees and employers. So it may well be that when onboarding a new member of staff, an employer needs to do something before the employee can perform their task. For example, the employer might need to buy them a laptop before the employee can actually collect the laptop. We then have onboarding and offboarding tasks. So our onboarding tasks are everything that happens when the user joins the organization, but we can also set up tasks for offboarding, which is what happens when the user hands in their notice and they decide to leave the organization. As an example, an onboarding task may well be to collect their key fob and to collect their laptop, and an offboarding task may be to have an exit interview and hand back their key and hand back their laptop. So this ensures tasks don't get missed at the start of the process or at the end of the process. Within the employee details panel, we can simply add a user and we can add who their manager is. It's within this area where we also add their department, and their existing status will default to onboarding when being added in. This will trigger an automated process that will review the task config list and will ensure that a number of these tasks are generated for that new user. Those tasks will be logged to that user account, and if, for example, they are a HR user, they will be granted a number of tasks related to the organization and a number of unique tasks related to the HR department they're going to be working within. Their manager will also get given a set of employer tasks if there's some stuff that they need to do in preparation for the employee turning up. In the employee details panel, we can also change someone from onboarding to offboarding, and that again will be another trigger point to rerun the automation, and at this point, it will send out all the offboarding tasks. Again, it will send out offboarding tasks related to the entire organization, unique offboarding tasks for this particular department, and employer offboarding tasks such as booking in the exit interview, should there be any in place. Site analytics are built into SharePoint. We can explore how we can utilize those plus clarity to improve your analysis of your intranet site. Comes with built-in site analytics. If we go up to our gear menu and we take a look at site usage, we're able to see these. Within the site usage area, we can look at two differing reports, either the hub usage data or the site usage data. Hub usage data will be a cumulative set of data across all site collections that are joined with your intranet hub, whereas the site usage data will just be focused on the site you're actually viewing at the time when you load up this report. Reports can look at 7 days or 30 days worth of content. So we'll set that to 30 days. We can see the number of unique visitors that have accessed this hub site and the amount of hub visits that have taken place. As we move down, we'll be able to see popular content in the last 7 days based on the unique visitors and the unique viewers. We can sort this by visits or viewers if we wish to. So here we can see the main hub site has had 88 visits, but our next most popular item has been the controlled documents with 54 visits. Similar in terms of pages, we can see that actually the Our Workshops page as part of our knowledge base has had 6 visits, so that's been the most popular, other than the dynamic newsletter. We can also look at documents and news posts, and once again also sort that by unique viewers or by visits. If we change this from hub usage data to site usage data, we can then see a little bit more information. This is focused on just the site that we're viewing. And in this scenario, we can have 7, 30, or 90 days worth of data. If we look at 90 days worth of data, we can see the number of unique visits, the number of site visits, and the average time spent per user. If we set that back to 30 days, we can actually see the averages appearing. We can also then look at popular content. So this is popular pages actually within this site. Once again, unique viewers, or we can look at visits. So our lookbook design 2 has been the most popular. And we can also look at time spent on a particular page. So once again, lookbook design 2 has had the most amount of time spent viewing that page. Really useful from a knowledge-based perspective. We can look again at news posts and documents. We can look at different types of devices that are accessing. So we can see that everyone is accessed via desktop, but we'd be able to see if people are accessing via tablet or mobile as well. And we can also look at the popular times when people are accessing. And we can see the unique viewers are a lot bolder. So for example, when we look at Wednesday the 29th at 2 p.m., that's when a lot more viewers were viewing this in this scenario. We also have the opportunity to tie this in with Clarity. So Microsoft Clarity is another analytics platform that can be utilized and joined in with SharePoint and our intranet. That will give you samples of recordings such as heat maps, session recordings, and further dashboard insights. The heat maps area will help you know which buttons and which area of the site is interacted with the most. So it may well be that you've got a specific link on your homepage which is clicked the most times. Therefore, we know that's very important to the end users. Session recordings will actually show mouse movements and clicks as they navigate across the site. So you might see interesting statistics such as someone trying to find a specific link and spending a long time moving their mouse to actually find that link and select the right item. And that might lead to feedback that you need to move the link elsewhere. And our insights will give us a lot further information on top of the reports that were just shown earlier. So in terms of people that are excessively scrolling, clicking on dead links, etc. We can also tie that in with Google Analytics. So for those that use Google Analytics for their external website, we can also tie analytics from your intranet into Google Analytics as well. I have a very brief example here of a session recording. So we can see our Holler intranet in the background. If we hit play, very quick, we'll just see a little bit of mouse movement and we'll see some clicks that are taking place. If we skip further forward, once again, we can see some mouse movement and we can see the clicks as to where people are navigating to. So we can see them going into the news article and navigating back out of there. So utilizing the inbuilt analytics within SharePoint, the addition of Clarity and the potential addition of Google Analytics means that your administrators and your marketing team have enough information and feedback to modify the intranet moving forward to make sure it works the best it can for your users and to grow adoption. We're now going to look at a case study about how a large London organisation built a new intranet with Valto to support their frontline workers. So the main challenges they had was that communications between their office staff and their frontline workers were fragmented, especially with people feeling isolated, being based in differing locations, such as all their different accommodations, versus being in an office with all the other staff. It meant there was limited access to various different updates, policies and procedures and documents just were hard to be found, and people didn't have the content and the documents they needed to work with at their fingertips. They did have a reliance on notice boards, so some of the buildings had notice boards as well as some notice boards in the office, but they weren't regularly updated, and not everyone actually had access to them because they were based in different areas across London. And it meant things such as news and celebrations, weren't shared with everyone across the organisation. Potentially, the office staff might have heard about new awards and new projects, but not everyone at the individual properties would know about that information. So again, led to them feeling isolated. So in terms of the engagement, once the organisation reached out to Valto and we talked through our methods and ways of working, they chose to engage with us and looked at some on-site consultancy. So our consultants went on site and actually worked with the team to understand their current setup and understand how they're using their notice boards and understand their pain points, and essentially taking away key requirements and objectives for the design and build of an intranet solution that was going to fix that moving forward. We took that all away, so it was a day on site. Once we went away, we documented all of our findings and we came back with efforts and costs to give an indication of what could be achieved for them. We also shared wireframes so they actually would see some live demonstrations of what their intranet could look like. Obviously, off the back of that, they were very impressed with what we produced, and that led to them engaging on a fully managed project. So we put that into place. They had a project manager, they had a team of developers and a squad lead, and we then delivered that project within their timescales. Not only did we build the project, we also looked at handing over the project with training and adoption support. So they weren't just left to their own devices. We actually supported them getting the intranet live and working with their users so that they were adopted into this new platform and new ways of working. So the solution essentially was the build of the intranet. So that was an intranet that would support both office-based and frontline staff. It was built within SharePoint, of course, which meant it was also responsive, so people could access it on tablet and mobile devices. So it meant people that were out in the field actually got the same updates as those that were sat at their desk in the actual main headquarters. Essentially, we led with news. So news was a really big piece of this organization. They wanted to share news, announcements, awards, project wins, etc. But they wanted there to be sort of two-way communication. So not only was there news, say in a top-down approach from the organization, they also wanted to capture and allow news to be submitted from each of the individuals out in the field, such as kind of events they may have gone to, lessons they may have learned, so that it became a lot more of a hub of a community versus just the organization pushing out news. That also led to them having a section where people could ask a CEO questions and the CEO could bring that into their monthly update as well, versus that only happening over email and only being sort of one-to-one correspondence. We also built in our controlled documents and contract management systems. So this allowed them to, of course, manage all of their key documents with version control, review cycles, approval, etc. So there was a one-stop shop to find all policies and procedures and always know that the latest version was in place, as well as having read receipts so the organization can confirm who had read the document, who knew the information as required. Contract management, something very similar, but specifically would notify when contracts were due for renewal, giving enough time that those contracts could be terminated or a new deal could be struck before the contract actually went into a rolling contract or rolled over to another year. So we built in all the approvals, alert systems, and again, trained the organization on how they worked. Finally, we had a lot of paper-based processes in the organization, so we switched them all into a number of different forms, both a mix of Microsoft Forms and SharePoint Forms, and we built in automated processes in the background to avoid there being kind of double entry of data, to ensure that things were approved at the right time, and to ensure that the data that was captured then was fed into the relevant teams and departments as required, to again save time across the organization. We had several positive results reported back to us from the organisation once the intranet had been up and running for a while. Firstly was the Ask the CEO engagement rates. They increased by approximately 65%. Originally, people had to send emails to an internal inbox and they just had kind of one-to-one correspondence, but people felt a lot more confident and comfortable in using the automated process, and it meant the CEO had a lot more questions, information that could be fed back in their monthly news articles. Employees also reported they felt less isolated, so specifically the frontline workers felt they were engaged more. So staff satisfaction actually grew by up to around 22%, and this was likely due to those individuals being, feeling they're part of the company and not as isolated, being able to see news announcements, etc., even when they weren't in the office. Employees have reported an average time saving of around 45 minutes to 75 minutes across most days, depending on what role they had in the organisation. This was due to a mix of some of the automated processes. So a number of users worked on paper-based files and they had to fill in documents and then double enter that data. So they saved obviously a lot more time than others. But then there was also the standard users that had to find processes, policies, procedures, documents, etc., who spent a lot of time having to search for those, and they also reduced the amount of time that they spent in the day. Managers also reduced time as well, just based on the fact that they were typically the ones that were asked the question if documents couldn't be located, they would have to go hunting for those as well. So actually the employees were able to find documents themselves that then actually freed up the management time in terms of finding and sharing documents with those users. And finally, with the contract management system, the alerts actually avoided them missing contract renewal dates. It was something that occurred a few times in the past. So it actually meant that they could terminate contracts or strike up a good renewal deal earlier in the process to avoid something moving on to kind of a more costly rolling contract, or for them moving into another 12-month contract, which they actually wanted to get rid of. So that contract management system actually saved them a lot of money in the long run as well, and meant they could get better deals for their subscriptions and services. Let's take a look at our offering. To do this, I'm going to load up the Valto website, which you can access at valto.co.uk. And within here, if we look under Modern Workplace, SharePoint and SharePoint Intranet, you can find out more information about what I'm about to go through. Within this page, you'll see the way that we work. The way we work is split into 5 key steps to get you up and running in 30 days. Our first steps are around on-site consultancy or remote consultancy, in which we work with you to actually design the look and feel of your intranet. We'll deliver an art of the possible demonstration so you can see some existing designs and you can choose which of those you like or dislike, which elements you like on the page, discuss which elements are going to support different pain points in your organization, and we can start to wireframe and map out what that intranet's going to look like for you. We'll also cover site structure, such as your departmental sites or any other custom pages that you need to have built, again, package dependent. We talked about your various different user journeys, so we'll work with differing departments to understand what users will need from your intranet. So for example, we may work with a HR department who will talk us through different user journeys that users will go through to access HR information, such as they may want to book a holiday or they might want to find out where the latest policies are, etc. So these user journeys will also go a long way to ensure that the design is right to meet the needs of your users. The design user journeys will all be documented. They'll be shared with you for sign-off, and you'll see a number of different wireframes as well, so that everything is confirmed before we jump into our third step, which is to actually begin the build of the intranet. The build process will be when our development team will access your tenancy and will then start to actually work and build the site with regular check-in so that you can see the branding, the design, the pages all coming to life, and we can regularly check in with you to ensure that it's meeting your needs. Within that build process, we'll also look at deploying specific add-ons depending on the package that's been purchased. As an example, an add-on may be the control document system or the knowledge base system. Each of these add-ons have had hundreds of hours of development in terms of building them, but very quick and easy for us to deploy them into your tenancy. But each add-on also has various configuration elements that we can adapt and change specific for your organization. As an example, the control document system will allow you to review documents, approve documents, up issue and version control those documents, ensure that there's read receipts, etc. So that's just a given as part of that control documents add-on. But then we'll actually configure the specific document tags and metadata that are specific for your organization so that your users can search and filter those documents in the correct way. And it means something more to your organization than just our standard out-of-the-box version. We don't just stop there, because when we finally move into our training and adoption stage, So we will provide you with training in various different mediums. So this will be face-to-face training, remote training sessions, as well as videos and documents and user guides, again, package dependent. We'll train your end users, your champions, and your administrators to make sure you're comfortable and confident in using the intranet, and you can get the best use out of it moving forward. Furthermore, we'll also look at adoption. So it's great training your users, but you need to then make sure that that intranet remains dynamic and that's kept up to date, so that your users actually get adopted into the system and they continue to use them. So we'll have regular check-ins with you once the intranet has gone live, and we'll help and support you once that intranet is live in terms of making tweaks and changes to the intranet and understanding user feedback. Again, the level of adoption is based on the package that's selected. So I've talked a few times about our packages, so I can bring them up on the screen here. So we'll see that there's 3 different packages in place. We have our essential package, our enhanced package, and our intelligent package. Each of these have various different services that are aligned to them and may have a different level of number of sites and available sites that would be built within that package. Each package has a dedicated consultant, so you will have a dedicated consultant throughout your journey, as well as a dedicated build team as well. Every package includes the main landing page and the main intranet page with branding, so that there will be a hub site in place, and that branding can be shared across all of your other sites so that you have your organizational's tone of voice and design and look and feel across your intranet pages. With some of the later packages, we also introduce some further add-ons into place. So we'll help you build out Viva engaged communities so that you can get more of a community feel within the intranet for people to chat and run polls and surveys, etc. We'll also have our add-ons, so you'll see in further explainer videos later in the webinar, but we have our dynamic newsletter, policy management and control documents, knowledge base, and employee onboarding, which are some of our add-ons that we'll deploy into place. We can also extend our branding with login and banner branding. This just ensures when people are logging into your site, they'll see your branding into place, which is great from a look and feel perspective, but also great to avoid any kind of phishing attempts that people know what to look for when they're actually logging into your site from differing devices. In our later intelligent package, we also look at file migration and we introduce an AI chatbot into place as well. So these essentially tie hand in hand because we can move all of your files across from existing systems into the intranet, and then we can start looking at deploying a chatbot that will allow you to ask questions over those, that data and those documents, specifically aligned with the controlled documents deployment, so people can ask about policies and procedures, etc. Content creation is also available across enhanced and intelligent. When we talk about content creation, this is the ability for us to actually build out pages for you that are ready to go live with. So essentially, when we're building out an essential intranet, we'll give you some sort of dummy information in there just so you can see the look and feel of the site. But as we move to enhanced intelligent, we'll actually build out a few more pages that might well be replications of an existing intranet page, or maybe replications of PDF documents that you've got that you'd like to build into a more fully fledged intranet site. This then allows you to get up and running quicker, but also gives you examples of how those pages may look moving forward. Intranets are split into various different sites. So you will typically have department sites, you may have community sites, you may have sites about well-being, etc. So the number of sites that we'll build for you, again, increases when you go to the intelligent intranet. Site analytics will be in place. So you do have site analytics built into Microsoft 365 and SharePoint already, but we will extend those analytics with a service known as Microsoft Clarity to allow you to have click maps and heat maps, etc. And in the intelligent intranet, we'll also expand that further into Power BI reporting, so you have a lot more intelligence behind those analytics that are in place. So no matter the service or the package that you purchase, you will have analytics, but the level and the depth of those analytics will increase. We talked about training earlier. Again, you can see the amount of training increases across the packages. So we've got training in differing mediums. At the essential level, you'll have videos in place that you can utilize and share on your intranet. But at those later levels, you'll have a lot more end user, super user, admin training, etc., more face-to-face training. And finally, as mentioned earlier, our adoption support. So we'll have a strategy in place after go live so that you can work through with your dedicated consultant how the intranet's going, any feedback you've got from your users, and we can help support that adoption. The later packages allow for a lot more months of adoption as well. So essentially, we will check in with you once a month for 12 months at the intelligent level, but we'll check in for 3 months at the essential level. So worth jumping into this site to find out more. We've got a number of different information, designs and case studies on this page. But obviously, do reach out if you're interested in one of these packages and we can explore the right package to fit your needs. Thank you for joining today's webinar. If you're interested in what you've seen and you'd like to know more and see a further demonstration, then we can work through your needs as an organization and provide you the best intranet package moving forward.